Go ahead. Say good morning right now. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Morning. I am Taylor Lichtai, Student Body President, and I would like to welcome you all to today's Candidate Forum. I am pleased to be here today and know we are going to have a great forum. In the last several years, Iowa Western has worked hard to increase the number of Iowa Western students who actively participate in elections by voting. In the past elections, we have been pleased to have a large number of Iowa Western students vote. I believe we are an important and growing part of the electorate in Iowa. We'd like to thank the legislators for all of their hard work and progress that has been made in the recent years for community colleges. We'd like to recognize the Iowa Western's Media Studies program for recording today's event and broadcasting it live on CBTV Channel 17. Because of their support, we are streaming this event live at each of our Iowa Western centers, including Shelby County, Cass County, Page and Fremont County, and Clarinda. This is the first time each of the centers have been able to participate in the Candidates Forum. Thank you, CBTV. The Student Development Hour will end promptly at 10 a.m., which will allow you to have time to make it to your next class. Now let's go over the ground rules for the forum. Each candidate here today represents the voters in our Iowa Western District. We'd like to thank you in advance for your participation and for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to give an opening statement. Don't worry, we have a stopwatch. If the candidate goes over, I will say stop, and we'll go to the next candidate. After the opening statements, I will have 2 questions prepared that the legislators will need to respond to. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond to these questions. Let's start the forum with your opening statement. Please introduce yourself and include your position on the role of community colleges' impact on the Iowa economy. Okay. We can start at the end and go down. It should be on. Or not.
And you can't hear. Can't hear? There you go. Okay. Good morning, and thank you to Iowa Western Community College and to the, it's a little loud, and to the Student Government Association for having us here today. My name is Mary Ann Hanusa. I am a state representative from District 16. Iowa Western sits in that district, and I'm very proud of that fact. I am a native of Council Bluffs. I grew up here and attended public schools here, and I have a bachelor's degree in education and a master's degree in American history. And I've spent my career in public service, and right now I'm serving as a school administrative manager for the Council Bluffs Public Schools. Iowa has a wonderful system of community colleges, and Iowa Western is literally a shining star among them. As a state legislator and as the chair of the House Economic Growth Committee, I have supported and voted for increased aid to community colleges because they provide quality education and offer the opportunity to learn specific technical skills that are needed to further careers. I know what a vital role community colleges play as we continue to face a tough economy and as people are forced to retool or increase their skill sets. Iowa's community colleges are uniquely positioned to provide the education to our students who will fill jobs in areas of critical need. Thank you so much again for having me here today.
I'm Representative Jack Drake, and I live out in Griswold. And I'm a lifelong farmer, grew up on a farm south of Walnut, and the legislative district I have is the east end of Pottawatomie and most of Cass County. But I also have a little bit of Southwestern Community College, not just a little bit. I have 2 counties in it, Adams and Union County, which is Corning and Creston. So I get to deal with 2 community colleges now. And but I've been a very strong supporter of the community colleges, and I want to commend you students for advancing your careers and your technology and the different things we're going to need. One of the difficult things in today's world is that technology is changing so fast, and what's good today isn't even around tomorrow. And so it's a real challenge out there. And the other thing that's happening is a lot of that equipment is costing more and more and more. So we got some real challenges to provide funding to keep our workforce up to standards. As I say, I'm a lifelong farmer. This is my 21st year in the legislature. And so I look forward to your questions.
Hi, my name is Mike Gronstal. I'm the senator that represents Council Bluffs and Carter Lake, almost all of the city of Council Bluffs except for one precinct, and the city of Carter Lake. Obviously, Iowa Western's in my district. I've been in the legislature for, this was my 31st year, so how many of you were born after I started in the legislature? Raise your hands. So I've been there a long, long time, and we've been working hard to build community colleges in this state. Most studies out there indicate that for kids coming out of high school, their job opportunities are significantly limited unless they get additional education. 60% of the jobs in our society need more than a high school diploma, but less than a 4-year degree. And community colleges are the place where people get those kinds of 2-year degrees and technical training. So Iowa Western is a key element of the economy in Iowa, and the community college system is a key element. So I look forward to your questions, but I also want to say to all of you, this is a great opportunity for you to get a great education and build a career and life that'll work well for you. Thanks for having us today.
My name is Mark Brandenburg, and I'd like to thank the Student Life Committee and Dr. Kinney for hosting this event. I represent District 15, which is all of Carter Lake and the west half of Council Bluffs. I've got a strong connection with Iowa Western and community colleges, as I graduated from Iowa Western and I also taught here. Since I taught here and graduated from here, I know firsthand the quality education that's provided. The impact of community colleges on Iowa's economy is a positive impact. Increased employment opportunities, improved business revenues, provides a high-skilled workforce. And it's obvious to the communities as well. Just recently we had an election and the levies passed by about 70%. So I think that's evident right there that everybody in the community is even aware of the benefits. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to the rest of the event.
Good morning. I'm Greg Forrestal. I live about 20 miles east of here near Macedonia. I represent District 22, which is the eastern part of Council Bluffs and most of the rest of Potawatomi County. I have a long association with Iowa Western. I was on the board for 5 years, and then I represented Iowa Western on the State Board of Education, and also on the Iowa Community College Council for a number of years. I've been in the legislature 7 years. I chair the House Labor Committee and serve on the Human Resources Committee as well as taking other responsibilities in the legislature. I was on the, as I said, on the Iowa Western Board for 5 years, and I've continued being involved in education on a national level with organizations. I really, truly understand how important Iowa Western is to Western Iowa. We don't have a university over here, and I was just recently meeting with the University of Iowa telling them you need to cooperate with Iowa Western and continue your programs there, because if you really want to have a meaningful representation, community colleges is where it's at, because community colleges are developing the people who will be the citizens of Iowa. So I look forward to the rest of this morning, and look forward to your questions.
All right, question number 2. What impact will the property tax reform legislation passed in the last legislative session have on community colleges? And we'll start on the far end and work our way back.
Oh, my turn again. Well, I thought this was a very interesting question, because property taxes don't have a huge impact on community colleges in Iowa, because most of their income comes from tuition and from state aid. However, property taxes will have an important impact upon the people who work at the community colleges and on the students who graduate from them. The last time that property taxes were seriously addressed, your parents were in elementary school and hadn't even thought about the birds and the bees yet, let alone you. So it was important that we do touch this. And when I was a student, I rented an apartment, and I realize a lot of you live in rented apartments as well. One of the things that we did in that bill was, over a period of time, we will allow apartments to become residential property. Currently, apartments are treated as commercial property, which is double the rate of residential property. So I think this brings an important equity for everyone. Also, we all watch television, and we know that Burger King and McDonald's go head-to-head in advertising and try to attract you there. And the same is true of states. We're in competition with other states in terms of attracting businesses. And particularly when we look at Nebraska and we see that their commercial property rates are significantly lower than Iowa's, it's hard for us to attract those businesses here that have a lot of property that are taxable. So over time, we do hope to get more competitive and attract jobs here, and I think that will impact everyone in the student bodies. So I think that's how that impacts you. Thank you.
Iowa has some of the highest commercial and industrial tax rates in the country. That makes it hard to maintain existing commercial and industrial businesses, and we need to attract more commercial and industrial businesses. If you have more companies paying more in taxes, that increases the tax revenues. That makes Iowa more competitive with other states. Our goal was to decrease the commercial and industrial property taxes and minimize the negative impact on the community colleges, and I think that we accomplished that. Thank you.
It is a very complicated issue with lots of different facets to it. The problem with all tax policy is when you squeeze one tax, it's like a balloon. It tends to squeeze out someplace else. So one of the things we made sure we did this year when we made changes to the way, and by the way, the state collects almost $0 in property taxes. So we don't get any of the revenue. It's all local governments. So it's cities, school districts, counties, community colleges, and a few other little minor levies out there. One of the things we said is we didn't want a tax shift, so we fought long and hard to make sure whatever we did would be reimbursed by the state. So there's three major components in this bill. One is an across-the-board reduction of 10% in commercial taxes that businesses pay. Another is a small business tax credit that's targeted towards everybody gets it, but it's targeted towards the first increment of value. And the third is this issue of apartments. The apartment tax was a tax that was already migrating away because apartment owners could change their property mechanism. They could change how they formed and say, no, we're not apartments, we are condominiums, or we are a cooperative apartment building. And when they did that, they escaped the tax. So the first two elements are completely reimbursed by the state. The last element is gradually phased out because it was phasing itself out because people were converting apartment buildings to other mechanisms that escape the tax. So the impact on community colleges will be pretty close to zero.
One of the things we also did in that is the state is going to pick up the shortfall in the first 3 years. So there will be, should be pretty minimal. But the one thing that has already been talked a little bit about, but I do think that if we can create more jobs here, and my idea of increased revenue for the state is to have more people working and having the jobs here. And I know that when you look at our commercial property tax, as I mentioned, we're about the third highest in the nation. So that, and if I'm a businessman, do I want to really invest here, or do I want to go across the border to another state? So we got some challenges ahead of here. Hopefully, the new businesses coming in, starting here, growing here, moving here, whatever it may be, will offset any future losses down the road. Thank you.
The property tax legislation that was passed this last May at the end of the session was the most sweeping property tax reform passed in the state's history, and it reduced property taxes for all classes of property: residential, commercial, agriculture, and industrial. And this was an issue that had been talked about in the legislature for decades, more than 3 decades. It's a thorny issue, it was a complicated issue, but I'm happy to say that we worked together in a bipartisan fashion to pass this legislation. When Iowa was looking at one of the highest commercial property tax rates in the state, it was a real hamper, it was a detriment to our being able to bring businesses into the state and to improve and grow the businesses that already exist in this state. And what that equals is that fewer jobs for our state. And when businesses are looking to come into the state, one of the things that they look at is the tax structure, because it's a fixed piece of the part of doing business. And so when we could not be as competitive with states around us with our commercial property tax, it did hurt our efforts to attract businesses and to grow our businesses here and grow more jobs. And that's what you're all looking for as you graduate. You want to be able to get a productive job. We want you to stay in the state of Iowa, and so we want to bring businesses in here. And our property tax reform was the first step in working to try to make as healthy an economy as possible so that there will be jobs for everyone who wants to work. Thank you.
Thank you for supporting community colleges as they receive the largest increase ever in general state aid. Do you anticipate future funding for community colleges? Will there be continued support? Marianne, we'll start with you and work our way down.
This back-to-back thing is kind of interesting here. I'm going to answer that question with a question, and that is, why would we not support community colleges? And that's not meant to be a flip response to the question, but it's meant to emphasize the critical importance that community colleges play for our Iowa residents and for our economy. Community colleges offer quality education at an affordable price for our students. The opportunity that you have to attend Iowa Western or another community college and complete a 4-year degree by just completing 2 more years than at a different institution helps reduce your college debt significantly, and it helps to ensure that you all can complete graduation on time, and most importantly, that you do graduate. As Senator Gronstal mentioned, approximately 60% of all Iowa jobs require more than a high school diploma, but not more than a 2-year certificate or degree. Our community colleges provide training for those middle skill jobs that directly help local businesses meet specific needs, and this helps keep our economy strong. And this is the case actually for Council Bluffs and Iowa Western as well. And Iowa's community colleges will continue to address the needs and specifically very specific needs that businesses have for skilled employees. And then finally, community colleges have wide, sweeping bipartisan support. Legislators from both political parties have worked together over the years to support community colleges and their continued growth. It's hard to think of another issue that garners such broad bipartisan support, regardless of the area of state political beliefs or backgrounds. And one more thing we did this year we have in the past year created a number of skilled worker initiative programs. And this year we added to those programs by creating the Skilled Worker Initiative Fund, which houses all of the skilled worker programs and dedicates a steady stream of funding that totals about $66 million. And in November, I will be chairing a study committee on the skilled worker creation, on the Iowa Skilled Worker and Job Creation Fund, so that we can monitor how these funds are being used in relation with the community colleges. So I don't think community college support is going anywhere, and I certainly I pledge my continued support for the community colleges.
The one challenge is the future is unpredictable. And I farmed all my life, and let me tell you, I saw some good times and I saw some pretty tough times. And if you could predict what the future is going to be, I know how to plan some things. And all I can tell you is that I think there will be very, very strong support for doing the best we can. in the past 3 years, agriculture has had some really good times. And I think that's had a lot to do with the Iowa economy and the revenues coming in much better than anticipated. But I also look down the road, and if I look for what I see, the price of corn is almost, pretty soon it's going to be close to half of what it was a year ago. And so the revenues may not come in, and if farmers don't have the money and don't spend it, they may be a little slower in the revenues coming in. And so, and then the other thing, though, I do think we need to have very, very strong support as possible for our community colleges, because the technology is changing so fast that just because you have a degree today does not mean that it's going to last you the rest of your life, because there's going to be a lot of different things out there you need to be updated on. And so all I can tell you is we'll try and do the best we can with the revenues we have. And this year, the nice thing was, revenues come in much better than anticipated, but we didn't spend all of it. We saved quite a bit of it. And one of the things I thought made a lot of sense in Iowa is we took over $122 million and prepaid some debts that we had. And we saved about $15.5 million. Now, if revenues drop off, all of a sudden we don't have to make those payments. We've already made them. So I think that lets us have more of a level playing field down the road. Thank you.
You know, I'm a little bit hesitant to answer this question, and here's why. We just had the best year ever in terms of resources for community colleges in the state of Iowa, and we're all celebrating that. Well, you know, we've had over 40 years when we neglected community colleges in this state, and we've got to build on that. So we can't have just one good year and celebrate that and brag about that for a few years. We've got to maintain this momentum. That's one of the reasons we created a dedicated funding source to fund the Skilled Worker Initiative, so that it would be ongoing and that effort would continue. But let me repeat, we had a good year this year, the best year for community colleges. But that doesn't erase 40 years when we neglected resources for community colleges, and we need to do a better job of that. We dedicate about, Dan Kenny, we dedicate about $2,000 a year per student at community colleges. That'd be about the number. So that's how much dollars the state puts behind every student at community colleges, about $2,000. K through 12 education, we put $6,000. Regents, we put $12,000. Private colleges, we put $3,400. Community colleges are on the bottom of the heap, okay? And they are the most important building block for our economy. So I want to say, yeah, we did have a good year, but don't take a lot of comfort in that fact, because we really had more than 40 years of bad years for community colleges, and we've got to keep that momentum up. And you're part of that. If you take the opportunities we and the community college have provided for you, we have an incredible opportunity to get more, because if you're successful and you use those appropriately and you get a job and a career and pay taxes in this state, you can help build on that. So we're glad we provided those resources, and I ask you to make us proud with what you do with them.
The last 3 years, we have increased the general fund appropriations for community colleges every year. But no one has a crystal ball. Just like Representative Drake indicated, we can't predict the future revenues. We don't know what they're going to look like. We can't spend more than what we take in, though. It's just like your personal checkbook. That being said, we know the benefits of community colleges. I will continue to support them, and I believe that as a legislature, we will continue to support them in any way that we can.
Well, yeah, I understand that it's difficult to make predictions, and that said, I'll make a prediction, and that is that we will increase the appropriation for community colleges next year. And I feel safe in making that prediction based on the fact that our economy in Iowa is still relatively strong. I understand that we have some question marks in the future in regards to the farm economy, which has been a basis of keeping Iowa's economy strong. And I see the price of corn and soybeans falling, as Representative Drake indicated, and that's worrisome because that means that in the long-term future, we might see our revenues decline. However, Iowa has among the lowest unemployment rates in the country. And we have a strong manufacturing base as well as a strong farm economy. And I think when you average all that out, I think that even though our revenues, our state revenues have declined since the beginning of July, I think that we will have revenues available so that we can continue to build on the strength of community colleges. And I feel confident that we'll be able to do that because I know that community colleges are number one on the list for everyone sitting at this table that's sitting in front of you. Because as I think I indicated in my opening comments, Iowa Western is the only show in town when it comes to Western Iowa. And we'll continue, all of us here, will continue to work in the community college system in Iowa. Thank you.
What can we, the students, do to help promote the causes of community colleges during the legislative session? Start at the end and work our way back.
Okay. First of all, communicate with us on a continuing basis. We all have emails. I spend a couple hours a day, it seems to me, and just cycling through my email. And I always respond to emails from constituents. And so just continue that communication. And I think that's the best way that you can do that. Is this our closing comments, or is that another question? Last year when we did this, we had a bunch of candidates here, and we had 3 minutes, and I'm looking at my watch, and I'm thinking maybe I need more than 3 minutes, I don't know.
That's fine, you can.
I'm sorry to mess things up. I want to say that this last session, and this is my 7th year, my 7th session I've been through, this last session was extraordinary for its bipartisan results. We started out the year with 3 huge goals. One was K-12 education reform, one was property tax reform, and the other one was to address the Medicaid issues. And at various times, I think we all thought we're not going to get any of them done. And by the time we got done with the session, all 3 of those major issues were addressed, I believe, very successfully, which made this, I thought, a rather historic session. And I think you need to be aware of the fact that we all work together in a bipartisan manner to address that. Now, there's 150 us up there in Des Moines, and that means nobody gets everything they want. And it means to get something that you want, you have to cooperate with everybody, and you have to give up something that, well, might be dear to you. So I think, you know, I'm just grateful to all my colleagues that it turned out to be such a successful session. Thank you.
Feedback is so important. And if you get a chance to go to Des Moines and talk to us, that helps a great deal, especially if you get a chance to talk to some of the other legislators as well. You can give us a call, you can send us email, or you can even catch us at the grocery store from time to time. I know my wife won't even take me to the grocery store anymore because she says, well, it used to take a half an hour, now it takes an hour and a half. One day, she made the comment, I was standing in front of the meat department and there was 3 people standing in line to talk to me. So, but it is helpful. It gives us that feedback so that when we do go to Des Moines, we can make these decisions and know what the people want. And so keep it up and keep in contact with us. And I'm sure we all have cards up here, business cards. If you'd like to get the information. I'm sure Dr. Kinney will provide it if you knew our phone numbers or our email address.
I agree with everything that's been said so far. Let me add just one other element. One of the things you can do to help us, in essence, market our support for community colleges is tell us personal stories. Tell us a little about yourself. Tell us what your hopes and dreams are and why you're here and what it is that brought you here. Whether that's just to get a good enough job to put food on the table for your family, or whether you've got some other career goals. Give us the personal story, because that's what motivates people in the legislature. If they understand, if you just say, hey, support community colleges, okay, we'll support community colleges. But if you tell me this is about your dream to get into health care and become a nurse, or maybe go on and become a doctor, if you tell us what your dream is, it's a lot easier to believe in the dream. So give us a personal story about what it is that makes this institution important to you.
Well, I think it's very important. We're well aware of it. We have children that have been graduates of community college. We have grandchildren that have been community college graduates. I've taken a couple of courses, but I have to admit that as a farmer, I wish the courses would start about the 1st of December and end about the 1st of April, when I'm not out in the field with long hours. And it's a little tough sometimes doing my homework. And but I think some other things that we need to be well aware of it also. I've helped participate in the Shelby County and the Cass County areas in scholarship fundraising. I've participated in either golf tournaments or Cass County. Atlantic has changed theirs to Jazz and Wine, I think is what they call it. I don't know if it's Wine and Jazz or Jazz and Wine. But I'm very, very important with what we have. I have to admit that I'm also a little spoiled because our youngest son is a graduate of Iowa Western as a mechanic. And let me tell you, I don't have the skills he does for fixing things. And so I really appreciate what they've done. I hope we can have a good future. And as I say, I always try to make myself available. I'm at a lot of functions, and if you see things that you like to have, feel free to talk to me, because most of us are pretty nice people. So, thank you.
Well, I have to say there's not a whole lot that I can add, because all of my colleagues have spoken very eloquently about the ways that you can keep in touch with the ways you can keep in touch with us, but we also want to be able to keep in touch with you. Obviously, we've got email. You can email us. You can call us. Invite us to a class. Have us come out and talk to your class. All of us participate when we are in session. All of us participate in legislative forums every other Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. And I know that might be kind of early to get up, but we participate and we take questions from the audience and about what's going on in Des Moines. And Senator Gronstal is quite right, because it's the personal stories are always what make the difference. And for us to know, okay, what attracted you to a community college, or what specifically attracted you to Iowa Western, is incredibly helpful in letting us know not only perhaps, yes, more funding or more opportunities for that, but are there specific needs that you are looking for from Iowa Western? Are there specific programs? Is there specific training that you would like to see here? And I'm chair of the House Economic Growth Committee, as I mentioned, and I work with the Economic Development Authority, whose mission is to promote business, basically, in our state and grow our economy. And we work in conjunction with the community colleges to see what needs they do have. And those needs are changing because our economy is changing, skills are changing, jobs are changing. And so if you were to look at the roster of classes at Iowa Western from even 20 years ago, and I think Dr. Kenny would agree with me, it's very different than it is now, because community colleges have that ability to change and meet current trends and current needs for training. So, but please do keep in touch with us. It's not just something that we say and yeah, you've heard it all before. We really do mean it. We really do want to hear from you, and we really enjoy when Iowa Western students come to the Capitol and spend the day with us and can kind of see what we're doing over there and what's going on there. So continue the feedback in whatever way that works best for you. And thank you again.
If you would like to make a closing statement, please take this opportunity to do so. We'll start at the end and work our way down again. Let's start at the end.
Senator Gronstal brought up a great point about personal stories, so I'm going to tell one. A number of years ago, when I realized that my arthritis wasn't going to allow me to continue to farm into my 80s like a lot of people do, I decided to go to Iowa Western and get a new skill. And I took a 26-week course, which resulted in me becoming a Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. And then I went out and I got a job. And after a while, I was perusing the network, and I worked for ConAgra, and I worked on their help desk. And after a while, one day I was perusing, and I found out the salaries of all the people that was working at the help desk with me. And I found out that I was making $10,000 a year more than they were. And the reason is because I had that certification that I earned here at Iowa Western. I hope that personal story gives you a reason to complete your studies. Thank you.
I'd like to address the students for a brief moment. You're very fortunate to have such a beautiful school and such dedicated instructors. The best years of my life were spent here at Iowa Western. When I reflect back, I truly enjoyed those years. As a graduate of Iowa Western and a former instructor, and as my record reflects, I'm a strong supporter of community colleges. We've got a lot of challenges ahead of us, but I believe we can do what we need to do and adjust the priorities so that community colleges are supported and that we give back to the community colleges some of the benefits that we've been able to get from them. I'd like to thank Dr. Kinney, the student government and staff and instructors at Iowa Western for hosting this event. Thank you.
Thank you for hosting this event. This has been a great event, and we all look forward to it every fall. You refer to us as candidates. I don't think any of us have announced whether or not we're going to run in the next election, but it's and I don't think we're going to do that now, right? But I just want to say it's always fun to come here. It's always fun to see the smiling faces in the audience, and many of us tend to think of this institution as a place for kids out of high school, kids in their early 20s. But I know that it isn't just kids here, that this is an institution of lifelong learning, because sometimes things change in your life and you want to pursue different turns. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up yet, and I'm 63 years old. So you don't have to know today, but I want you to understand that there are incredible opportunities here. And if you want to build support for community colleges, take those opportunities. And if you're on a path that you're not sure is the right path, there are people here to help you. But figure it out and take these opportunities and do great things with those opportunities. Life is an interesting journey, and you should, number one, have fun at it. So pursue whatever those opportunities are that drive you. Find something that resonates in your soul and pursue that. And if you do that, and if you share those stories with people, I'm here to tell you community colleges will grow and prosper for the next 40 years in Iowa.
I want to thank you for the opportunity to appear before you. I'm really excited about you're the future of our country. And you've a lot of talents here, and I wished I had some of your skills. especially when it comes to these phones and things like that. I don't have quite that good of skills anymore. I never did have them, but you are the future. And so we're going to need different kinds of people out there to do different things. And that's one of the things I think is really great about the community colleges. I know there's been a lot of emphasis on the science and technology and math and all that, but there still needs to be people out there that can do a lot of other things besides those things. And it's so very, very important. And I hope that you have a good future in your life. And so with that, thank you.
Well, thank you again for inviting us here today and giving this, this opportunity to visit with you for just a little bit. But thank you very much to the students for being here, not only for being here this morning, but for being here at Iowa Western. And thank you for caring enough about your careers to make the decision to come here, because you are receiving an excellent start in your path on higher education and training. And as I mentioned when I first started, when we first started here, Iowa Western is a star among the 15 community colleges in the state of Iowa. I hear from my colleagues across the state who maybe have never been here or maybe never even been to Council Bluffs that they know about Iowa Western. They know about the programs here. They know about the opportunities here. And I'm so glad that you are here to be able to take advantage of that and continue to work hard, study hard. You will, as you ask around the community, especially the community of Council Bluffs and Southwest Iowa, if you ask people where they got their training, where they got their education, you might be surprised at how many of them talk about Iowa Western. And they're very successful people, and I think that's in no small part to the grounding and the excellent opportunities and starts that they have gotten here at Iowa Western. So continue to pursue your dreams, and don't let anyone talk you out of them. It's never too late to do that, and just work hard, study hard. Thank you for being here. Continue to take advantage of all the opportunities that are here, and best wishes for the future.
Please give a round of applause to each of the legislators for participating in today's event. On behalf of students of Iowa Western, thank you for continued support of Iowa Western Community College. If you would like to watch this event again, tune into CBTV Channel 17 in the upcoming weeks to view the replays. Thanks for attending the 2013 Candidates Forum at Iowa Western.